Hey everyone, you're on the Holly Lolly channel. Today we're going to talk about popular places in Japan that I think you can safely skip and spend your time on something else. Why was I disappointed by Disneyland in Tokyo? What's really going on in popular maid cafes? And is it really worth coming to Tokyo during cherry blossom season? What's wrong with Japan's popular fireworks festival? I want to say right away and emphasize that these are places I've been to and from which I either expected more or where something went wrong. But this is just my experience, so if you want to go to any of these places above, it is certainly worth a try. Your opinion may differ from mine. One of the most unexpected disappointments for me personally was Disneyland. Disneyland in Tokyo and Osaka is that place that everyone has wanted to go to since they were kids. Every person dreams of getting into this world of fairy tales, riding awesome rides, and just being a child, forgetting all their problems. It's a kind of fairy tale magic, and when you get there, you just forget how old you are and want to have fun. But the reality is a little different from the picture we have in our heads. When you get there, you're faced with reality. First of all, there are just crazy lines. Saying there are gigantic queues is an understatement, because we've been to Tokyo and Osaka Disneylands, and once, we got lucky and visited during the pandemic when there were really few people, and it was a lifetime memory, but those times are gone. We went to Osaka specifically to celebrate our son's birthday, and saying we were disappointed is an understatement. First of all, Disneyland is divided into 4 to 5 themed zones. We thought we would buy a fast ticket, and in other countries, this allows you to visit attractions without waiting in queues. It's much more expensive than a regular admission ticket, but worth it. But in Japan, any tickets need to be bought in advance because if you arrive, it's 99% likely that tickets will already be sold out. Fast tickets also need to be bought in advance. How do they work? You can buy a fast ticket for one zone. For example, if there are 4 or 5 zones, that means you'll need 5 separate fast tickets, and you can visit only one attraction in a zone with this ticket. And the zones are, of course, all different. For example, there is a children's zone, where you just float leisurely on a boat and look at the scenery. And you won't get any thrill in this zone, but you've spent your fast ticket on a kids zone. Each zone has a list of rides that you can go on with that ticket. And where the cool slides are, this kind of ticket doesn't work, so you have to stand in a huge line to get in. Most of the time, you have to stand in the heat, and you're very lucky if you've only waited in line for an hour for a 20 to 30 second ride. The average wait time is 3 to 4 hours. You stand for hours just to ride for 30 seconds. It's especially hard when you're with kids. You stand, you wait for so many hours, and then you finally sit down to enjoy it, and it's over in a flash. And then you get out, go to a new line, and stand there for hours again. I would like to remind you that this is only my experience. If you want to try it, by all means try it. But I would still suggest visiting Disneyland in another country, because they're not very different, and Japan has a very limited number of rides available on fast tickets. Half of them are very childish rides. The tickets won't save you from queues. It's just wasted time and a lot of money. In 2024, the cost of one adult admission ticket was 8,800 yen, which is about $57. If you want a fast ticket, you'll of course have to pay extra. The price depends on the specific attraction and time of year, but on average it's about $13 to $20 per attraction. And given the time spent waiting in line, you might not even get to enjoy all the rides you've already paid for. Another park I think you can skip when you go to Tokyo is Hanayashi Park. Guidebooks will tell you that it's the oldest retro park, over 150 years old. It's really atmospheric. You know, some people feel admiration for it. It's really atmospheric, but to be honest, every time I got on the rides, especially with kids, it was accompanied by creaking and rattling every time. Even the roller coasters are old, and when you go up, the car rattles and shakes, and then you come back down with the same creak. Honestly, I really had my fingers crossed to make it to the end. My personal opinion is that you won't get a thrill in Hanayashi. I don't doubt that the Japanese check everything thoroughly and that everything is in good technical condition, but still, these are rides, and we occasionally hear different reports worldwide about incidents. For example, I was on a ride with my daughter where a stick-shaped bar comes down on top of you, you're lifted up, and then they start to drop you down sharply. There's also a seatbelt, but it's loosely adjustable. And once, when they lowered us down, I really flew up, and the bar flew up with me. I had an adrenaline rush, and my daughter even more so. She's small, so she flew up even more, and it was a little scary. So if you want, of course you can go there, but my opinion is that this park is worth skipping. Entrance tickets cost about 1,000 yen, which is $7, and each ride is paid separately. And I also want to recommend a really cool park. Based on my experience, I really enjoyed going to Tokyo Dome Park with my kids. You can buy tickets for each attraction separately, or an all-day ticket to ride as much as you want. It doesn't have as many rides as Disneyland, but I remember the lines. If you come to this park after 5 p.m., the prices are almost half. If I'm not mistaken, the park is open until 10 p.m. in the summer and 9 p.m. in the winter. The last time I visited was in summer, and there was reconstruction going on. Half of the rides weren't working, and there wasn't much to do, but when everything's working, it's the perfect place for me. Team Lab Planet is also worth checking out. There are various rooms there where everything is built not only on aesthetics, but also on sensory experience. I know a second new Team Lab Planet has opened in Tokyo now, but you have to make reservations days or even weeks in advance. But I would recommend going to the old one. It's easier to buy tickets there, even on the same day. I found only one single disadvantage there. Japanese people are always very clean, but a lot of foreigners come to Team Lab Planet. When you go there, you have to take off your shoes and socks, put everything in storage, and walk around barefoot. And, honestly, the smells are different, and it's very frustrating because you walk in and there's an unpleasant odor in the room. Also, be prepared that if you come in pants, you'll need to roll them well above the knee. There's a slope where warm water runs, and you walk up it to go to the next room. It's a pleasant sensation, but if you're with small children, this water will be almost waist-high for them, so you'll need to carry them. But overall, there are large colored balls, the room is mirrored, and there are rooms with hanging bags you can pass through. You can get a lot of emotions. And there's also a flower hall, where flowers fall from the ceiling and you get insanely beautiful photos. This is a place I recommend visiting. One of Japan's most popular attractions is visiting a Maid Cafe. This is a cafe where you're served by girls dressed as maids. They wear very short dresses, knee socks, lace, cat ears, and sometimes tails. And, of course, the goal is to relax the visitor as much as possible and make them stay longer. My husband and I visited one of these places to film a video for you, but filming was forbidden. You can take photos and videos for a fee, and as soon as you enter, you're informed that entry is paid. You can't just go in and look, you need to pay a fee and then pay by the hour. The menu prices are also not cheap. My husband and I spent about 8,800 yen, or about $60, to stay there for an hour and ordered one dish. It's not a small price tag, but you don't pay for the food. The food is bad, but the presentation is great. If you order just rice, it's served with sauce, but the taste is ordinary. People go there for the atmosphere and the experience. But you can tell the girls are tired. They're polite with visitors, but you can see that as soon as they turn away, they look exhausted. Maybe I'm just sensitive, but I notice this fatigue, and I can see that they don't enjoy their work. I understand that they're paid well and that people come to these cafes for the experience, but I personally didn't like the insincerity. But many people go just for the experience and are prepared to pay a high price for it. Everything there is designed to keep you as long as possible. We waited a very long time just to settle the bill, and I think the workers monitor the time. For example, if we had 5 to 10 minutes until the next hour, they delayed bringing us the bill. I repeatedly went to the cash register and asked for the bill, but they kept telling me to wait. Honestly, if you want to go, of course you can, but I didn't enjoy it. In Akihabara, the anime neighborhood, there are many girls in similar outfits handing out flyers and inviting you to various establishments. You can look at these girls for free, though photos are not allowed. Another place I recommend is the Harajuku neighborhood, where you'll see local fashionistas. You can see how unusual Japanese fashion is. I've enjoyed buying unique items there lately. It's worth visiting to look around and maybe buy something. You know, I wanted to tell you about visiting Tokyo Tower and Tokyo Skytree. These are two very beautiful towers worth seeing, but I recommend viewing them from the outside. They look very beautiful, and you can take great photos, but climbing them isn't worth it, in my opinion. There are many other, even free, observation points that are just less well publicized. For these two towers, you have to wait in line, and if you go on a weekend or holiday, you can spend half a day just to get in. On a weekday, you'll still wait an hour or two. When you finally get in, there are lots of people, and the glass often gets fogged, even though they try to clean it. I've been to more impressive places. Inside the tower, you don't feel like you're really high up. Near Tokyo Skytree, in a nearby mall, there's a free ground where you go up and see pretty much the same view. It's a little lower, but you'll see the objects more clearly. plus you can see the tower itself. Honestly, I wouldn't recommend spending so much time climbing. These towers are a must-see, but whether you should go up is up to you. Tokyo Skytree is 634 meters high. The observation platforms are at 350 and 450 meters. The entrance fee in 2024 was about 2,100 yen for the 350th floor, about $14, and about 3,100 yen for the 450th floor, about $21. As for Tokyo Tower, it's 333 meters high, with observation decks at 150 and 250 meters. The price for the 150-meter deck is 1,200 yen, or $8, and for 250 meters, it's 3,000 yen, about $20. You can find online that there's a free observation deck in the Tokyo government building, and that's true. But when our relatives visited, we went to the government building, but when we arrived, we were shocked. There was a line to the elevator at least 500 meters, maybe closer to a kilometer long. The line stretched from the building to the bus stop, and when we asked people how long they'd been waiting, they said 3 to 4 hours. There are other observation points, but you have to look for up-to-date information. So really check the information, but I wanted to warn you about where queues are just incredible. Every summer, Japan has legendary fireworks festivals called the Hanabi Matsuri Festivals. It's an amazing event that words can't describe. To be honest, I only learned about these festivals 2 years ago. The most popular place is by the Sumida River. They're held in different neighborhoods, and even riverside parks host these festivals almost every weekend in August, sometimes even into September. These are festivals with 10,000 or even 20,000 volleys, lasting about an hour or two. I think back to New Year's Eve when fireworks last a maximum of 5 to 10 minutes, and here it's a whole hour or two. Every year there's a list of neighborhoods and exact locations, but be prepared for unreal crowds and crushes in the streets, sometimes about 1 million people packed into one place. You have to go at 6 to 7 a.m., though the fireworks start at about 7 to 8 p.m. The most beautiful views are by the river, where nothing obstructs the view. Anywhere there's a view, there will be people who've been there since morning. I ignored all the advice and decided we wouldn't be so serious about it. I just looked up the closest place to our house and we went there as a family. Getting there was horrible. Everyone drives or walks. Traffic controllers stand every 5 to 10 meters on the streets, regulating traffic to prevent terrible crashes. Honestly, it's just scary on the streets because of the huge flow, and you hope no one falls. If you try to go against the flow, you just can't. There are hundreds of thousands of people walking, and every time they come to a dead end, a policeman directs them to another path. The streets are just packed, and all you can think about is not getting trampled. For about 40 minutes, we could hear the fireworks, but we couldn't get to a spot to see them. Everywhere you turn, you hear fireworks, but can't see anything because of the buildings. Finally, we found a small nook and could see a tiny portion of the fireworks. We watched for about 15 or 20 minutes, and then it was a whole quest to get home. The subway was packed, and getting a cab was impossible. First, there were no free cars, and second, traffic controllers blocked roads. But here's one trick that I wish I'd known sooner. You can buy tickets in advance to watch fireworks by the Sumida River. Of course, you need to buy tickets far in advance, and they cost around $30 to $70 per seat. But you still have to arrive early to get in. I was told you need to show up in the morning, or you won't get in. The cherry blossom season in Japan is an unforgettable sight, but it doesn't always go as smoothly as you'd like. It's again crowded with people who arrive in the morning with blankets and food to picnic under the blooming trees. In parks with lots of trees, it's hard to even walk. The Japanese love to have picnics right under cherry blossoms. If you want to take pictures and enjoy the flowers, you won't really be able to. As a tourist, I didn't get to experience the peak blossom dates. There are cherry blossom schedules, but they're not always accurate. For example, frost or a sudden warm spell can make the blossoms bloom earlier or later. It was only after moving to Japan that I really saw the blossoms. It's very beautiful, but I haven't seen the fairy tale-like places everyone talks about. Maybe you have to go out of Tokyo to see that. I've seen some blooming trees, but there are just crowds of people. In 2.5 years, I haven't seen many truly beautiful spots, although I've visited many places. The season goes by quickly, lasting about 10 days. And, obviously, all trees don't bloom at once. Some are just starting, while others are already blooming. It's beautiful, but I doubt if it's worth visiting Japan just for that. Of course, it's up to you, but remember that there will be many other people with the same idea. This means all attractions will be packed with tourists. And, of course, I forgot to mention the most important thing. If you decide to visit during cherry blossom season, remember that hotel and ticket prices sharply increase. Not only tourists, but also Japanese people like to travel during this time, so everything fills up, and you need to book in advance. Lastly, I want to tell you about robot cafes. I think everyone should visit such a place to see how it all works. It's interesting, but I don't recommend going to overly hyped cafes. The food isn't great, and people go there for the experience, with prices much higher than other places. But, for example, in the Shabu Shabu Cafe, the food is healthier and actually tasty. This place isn't as well known, but robot cats will bring you your orders there too, so I think it's both tastier and more interesting. Dear friends, thank you all very much for watching. Please like, subscribe to the channel, and see you in new videos. Bye bye!